The air in the multi-purpose room at Crestwood Hills Elementary always smelled like burnt coffee and industrial floor wax. It was the smell of budgets, stretched just thin enough to cover the public part of its public-private charter status. Today, they added the cloying scent of expensive perfume. It was donor day, the one day every semester I truly, profoundly hated. I am Ava Carter. I am 29 years old. I felt about 60. I had been up since 4 a.m., elbow deep in high-gluten flour, shaping croissants for people who spent more on breakfast than I made in a shift. The proof of it was still on my jeans, a fine, white dusting on the left thigh that refused to brush off. My daughter, Lily, did not see the stain. She was 6 years old, and she saw the room as magic. She was clutching her science project, a poster board depicting a volcano made of clay, titled The Big Boom. "Mommy, do you think they will like the baking soda part?" she whispered, her eyes wide. "I think they will love it, baby," I whispered back, trying to smile. But I knew they were not looking at her poster. They were looking at my jeans. The Crestwood PTA moms were a clique, honed to a sharp edge by boredom and comparative wealth. They clustered near the donation table, a flock of sleek, dark-haired women in designer athletic wear. Their leader, Brenda McLaughlin, a woman whose husband had donated the entire computer lab, glanced my way. Her eyes flicked from my worn boots to the flour stain, to the small, slightly dented metal lunchbox I held for Lily. The whispers started. I did not need to hear them to know the words. Flour, homemade lunch, again. And the big one, where is he? Brenda stepped up to the podium, tapping the microphone. "Welcome, welcome, families." Her voice was as bright and hard as a diamond. She thanked the big donors, the $5,000 families, the $10,000 families. Then she looked out, her gaze landing directly on me. "We are so blessed. We know that success for our children relies on a stable, supportive home, a home with a present father." The room did not erupt. It was worse. It trickled with laughter, little, sharp snickers from the Lululemon flock. They were needles, every single one. I felt the heat climb my neck. I stared straight ahead, finding the crack in the ceiling plaster. I squeezed Lily's hand. She squeezed back, oblivious, just excited for the projects. I was breathing in the smell of yeast and old sweat from my morning shift, and all I could taste was shame. At the back of the room, near the exit, a man watched. I had noticed him when I came in. He did not fit. He was not wearing a fleece vest or a polo shirt. He wore a black cashmere coat, tailored so well it made the room look cheap. He was tall, dark-haired, and completely, unnervingly still. He was not checking his phone. He was not sipping the bad coffee. He was just observing. His stillness was a magnet in the room full of nervous chatter. I had pegged him as a lawyer for the school board. Maybe. He looked about 38, Italian-American, and utterly bored by all of us. He was looking right at me when Brenda made her comment. He did not smile. His expression did not change at all. The teacher, Miss Hayes, a young woman who always looked as tired as I felt, clapped her hands. "Okay, everyone, time to sign up for our spring volunteering committees. Please find your family group and sign the sheet at your designated table." Lily's shoulders slumped. This was the part she understood. The family group part. She looked at the floor, her little hand slipping out of mine. She looked around at the other children running to their mothers and fathers. My stomach twisted. "It is okay, sweetie," I started to say, but she was looking past me. Footsteps, solid, quiet, expensive shoes on linoleum. I smelled clean wool and something sharp, like citrus. The tall man from the back of the room stopped next to me. I froze. The PTA mom stopped whispering. He placed a hand lightly on my shoulder. It was not familiar. It was anchoring. He bent slightly toward Lily, ignoring me completely. "Today," he said, his voice low and smooth, with a faint trace of New York. "I am Dad." The silence in the room was absolute. It was so quiet I could hear the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Brenda McLaughlin's plastic smile froze in place. "Miss Hayes dropped her marker. I stared at him. I opened my mouth to say, "Excuse me," to tell him this was not funny, to back off. But Lily, my shy, quiet Lily, looked up at this complete stranger. She studied his face for 1 second, then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, she reached out and slipped her small hand into his. She held on to him like he was a lifeline. I was too stunned to speak. The moms were staring, their mouths open. The man, this Matteo Lucero, though I did not know his name then, nodded once, as if this was all settled. He let Lily pull him toward the science project wall. "This is the big boom," Lily told him seriously. "I see that," he replied, his voice just for her. He pointed at her drawing. "You used baking soda and vinegar, a classic acid-base reaction? Did you calculate the propulsion?" Lily giggled. "It just exploded." "The best ones do," he said, and he helped her pin the poster to the board. He was gentle with the thumbtacks, showing her how to press them without bending the poster. He spoke to her like she was a person, not just a little girl. I finally found my legs. I walked over, my heart hammering against my ribs. I kept my voice low. "Just for him. I do not know what game you are playing, mister. But this is not it. What are you doing?" He did not look at me. He kept his eyes on Lily, who was now explaining the glitter on the volcano. "Helping someone up," he said quietly, "does not require checking their file first." I stared at his profile. The strong jaw, the dark eyes. He was the secret donor. I did not know how I knew, but I did. He was the one they were all trying to impress, and he had just aligned himself with me. The principal, Mr. Morton, came bustling over, his face pale. He had seen the interaction. He had seen the top of the food chain make his choice. Mr. Lucero. Morton stammered. He had clearly recognized him. "What a pleasure, we did not expect you. Can I get you a coffee?" "A pastry. We are so thrilled to have Lily's father join us this year." Matteo finally looked away from the poster. He looked at the principal. "No, thank you. Mr. Morton, I am just fine." Lily's father. The words hung in the air. Matteo did not correct him. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a sharp, angry buzz. I pulled it out, hiding the screen. It was a text from Dylan, my ex-husband, the man who had not paid child support in 6 months. The message was simple. 4 p.m. today, my lawyer's office, sign the papers, or I am taking Lily. A different kind of cold flooded my veins, pushing the social shame aside. This was real. This was the threat that mattered. My hand must have been shaking. When I looked up, Matteo Lucero was watching me. His gaze was sharp. He had seen my face change. "Miss Hayes," he said, his voice carrying just enough. "We are going to step out for a moment in—" He guided Lily gently toward the door. I followed, numb. In the hallway, the smell of floor wax returned. "You're in trouble," he said. It was not a question. "You have no idea," I muttered. He looked down the hall, then back at me. "When you leave here, do not go alone." A laugh escaped me. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Mister, look at me. I am poor. I am not naive. What, you think someone is waiting to mug me? They would get half a container of lukewarm coffee and about $5 in tips." "I am not worried about a mugging," he said, his voice flat. The event ended. We collected Lily's poster. The PTA moms avoided my eyes. Brenda McLaughlin looked furious. I held Lily's hand as we walked out into the gray North Jersey afternoon. The parking lot was emptying. My car, a 15-year-old sedan with a dent in the fender, was at the far end. And I saw them. 2 men. They were not parents. They were big, broad, and wearing thin bomber jackets despite the chill. One had a shaved head that gleamed under the gray light. The other was picking at his teeth. They were leaning against my car, blocking the driver's side door. My breath hitched. I pulled Lily back behind me, my heart trying to escape my chest. They saw me. The one with the shaved head smiled. I did not even hear Matteo Lucero follow us out. One moment, I was standing there, paralyzed, a new kind of terror seizing me. The next, he was moving past me. He did not say a word. He just walked, not fast, not slow, and stopped about 10 feet from my car. He stood between me and the two men. He did not raise his hands. He did not issue a challenge. He just stood there, solid as a brick wall, his hands loose at his sides. The men stopped smiling. Matteo Lucero looked at them, and in that moment, I realized I had been wrong, and he was not bored. He was not a lawyer. He was something else entirely. He stood there, protecting me and my daughter, and he did not blink, not even once. It had not always been this way. It had not always been about strange men in parking lots and silent benefactors in cashmere coats. The move to North Jersey had been a retreat, a strategic withdrawal from the wreckage of my marriage. I left Manhattan, or rather, the sliver of Brooklyn I could barely afford. About 8 months ago, I came here with 2 suitcases, a 6-year-old daughter, and a restraining order that felt about as useful as wet paper. Dylan Reed, my ex-husband, he was a man built on big dreams. He was a musician, a very good one, who played guitar in smoky downtown bars. He had the charisma to fill a room and the discipline of a toddler. His dreams were funded by bar tips and, as I discovered too late, poker games in back rooms. The big dreams turned into big debts. When I left, he had not paid child support in 6 months. That is 6 months of me juggling the electric bill, the gas bill, and Lily's medication for her asthma, and he was always about to get a big gig or waiting on a royalty check. The checks never came. The threats did. I became a creature of the early morning and late night. My life was divided by shifts. At 4 a.m, I was at the Flower Box, a boutique bakery. I was the one in the back, the one covered in flour, proofing the dough. The smell of yeast and cardamom clung to me like a second skin. By 2 p.m, I was picking Lily up. We had 3 hours together. We did homework. We read books. We made volcanoes out of clay. By 5:30 in the afternoon, I was back out. My second job, food delivery. I drove my rattling sedan all over the suburbs, delivering overpriced sushi and curry to people in houses I could never afford to rent, let alone buy. I would get home around 10 at night, smelling like a mix of cinnamon and pad thai. My neighbor was my saving grace, Mrs. Romano. She lived in the apartment below ours. 1B, she was a retired nurse, a widow with a sharp tongue and kind eyes. She kept an eye on Lily through the baby monitor I had set up between our floors during my delivery shifts. Go, go, she would say, waving me off. A woman's gotta earn. Just bring me a cannoli if you swipe one. I always paid her for her time, even when she argued. Crestwood Hills Elementary was supposed to be the prize. It was the reason I chose this specific, overpriced neighborhood. It was a public-private charter school, which meant it had better funding than the public school, but fewer entry requirements than the private ones. Lily got in on a partial scholarship, a partial one. This meant I was still paying a portion I could not afford, and the other portion I paid in sweat. The scholarship required parent volunteer hours, a lot of them. It also required mandatory participation in the Parent-Teacher Association. I thought it would be fine. I thought it would be bake sales and chaperoning. I was wrong. The Parent-Teacher Association was the beating heart of the school's social hierarchy. It was run by women like Brenda McLaughlin. It was a place of quiet, brutal judgment. They were, as they often said, rich in goodwill. They were also rich in judgment. They judged the cars in the drop-off line. They judged the clothes. They judged the snacks. And they really judged a single mother who worked 2 jobs and always smelled faintly of flour. The name Matteo Lucero existed in the school, but only as a myth. He was the anonymous angel donor. I heard the whispers at the Parent-Teacher Association meetings I was forced to attend. He donated the entire computer lab, one mother whispered over lukewarm coffee. I heard he paid for the new soccer field. Another said, "My husband says he runs a logistics company. You know, down by Port Newark, shipping containers." The port That was the key. Port Newark was its own world. It was docks and cranes and unions and shadows. A logistics business, there was not a tech startup. It was old world. It was heavy. He never came to anything. Not the galas, not the ribbon cuttings. He just sent the checks, the school. In return, left him alone until today. While I was navigating the social minefield of the Parent-Teacher Association, Dylan was getting desperate. The 6 months of non-payment had turned into 8. His texts became more frequent. I need to see her. You cannot keep her from me. I'm getting a new lawyer, a family friend. He says I have rights. Just be reasonable. Ava, we can work this out. I need a new visitation schedule. The old one does not work for my gig schedule. Be reasonable was Dylan's code for give me what I want. He wanted to change the custody agreement. He wanted her more often, which I knew meant he wanted to pay less. I was not stupid. I knew my ex-husband. He was a cornered animal. I started a new routine. I bought a spiral notebook. I wrote down every dollar I spent. Rent, utilities, groceries, Lily's shoes, the $20 copay for her inhaler. I screenshotted every single text message from him, the ones where he begged, the ones where he threatened. I took my file to a legal aid office in Newark. A tired, smart lawyer named Miss Rivera looked through my binder. She nodded slowly. He's all talk, for now. He has not filed anything. You have sole physical custody until a judge says otherwise. Just keep documenting. Do not engage. Gird your loins, Miss Carter. Just stand firm until the hearing. So I stood firm. I worked my shifts. I packed Lily's lunch. I ignored the whispers at the school. I told myself the parking lot was just a parking lot. Then, the night before donor day, I came home late. It was maybe 11 o'clock at night. I was exhausted, my back aching from the delivery driving. I unlocked the door to my apartment, and I saw it. A plain white envelope on the floor slid under the crack. My heart stopped. Dylan, he had been here. He knew where I lived, of course. But he had never come here. My hands were shaking. I picked it up. It was heavy. I locked the door, sliding the deadbolt, and opened it. It was not a letter. It was a photograph. A clear, high-quality photograph. It was Lily. She was on the playground at Crestwood Hills, climbing the monkey bars. She was smiling. It was taken from a distance. Someone had been watching her. Behind the photo was a small, typed note. No signature. It said, "It is easier to have these discussions in public. Let's talk at the school tomorrow. We can all be reasonable." I felt sick. I ran to Lily's room. She was asleep, curled up with her stuffed bear, breathing softly. I sat on the kitchen floor for a long time, the photograph in my hand. This was Dylan's move, a new low, when he was trying to scare me. He was going to show up at donor day in front of Brenda McLaughlin and all the other perfect parents and make a scene. He was going to use the school, my place of shame, to humiliate me into signing his papers. I clutched the photo. I thought I knew what I was up against. I thought I was preparing for a custody battle with a deadbeat musician. I had no idea. I was wrong about who sent the photo. I was wrong about what the threat was. Dylan was a pawn. He was a loud, messy, predictable problem. The man who had really been watching, the man whose interests Dylan had stumbled into, was not any of those things. He was silent, he was precise, and he was standing at the back of the auditorium, wearing a cashmere coat, watching the whole pathetic show. The two men did not move. They watched Matteo Lucero, their expressions shifting from bored arrogance to cautious assessment. The man with the shaved head spoke first, his voice like gravel. He kept his eyes on me, pointedly ignoring Matteo. "We just have a message for the lady," he said. "From Mr. Reed. He needs to meet tonight to talk about the custody papers." "Mr. Reed's meeting schedule is not her concern," Matteo said. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the damp parking lot air. He took one step forward, placing himself more firmly between us. Lily was hiding behind my legs, clutching my coat. "No, this is not your business, friend," the other man said, the one who had been picking his teeth. He pushed himself off my car. "Miss Carter is with me," Matteo stated. It was a fact, not an opinion. And this, he continued, his voice becoming colder, clearer, is now a recorded conversation. Her legal counsel is aware of this meeting and your presence. That changed the air. The two men looked at each other. The word counsel hung in the air. Heavy and expensive, they were muscle, sent to intimidate a single mother they assumed was alone. They were not prepared for a man in a cashmere coat talking about lawyers. The shaved-head man gave a short, frustrated sigh. He was clearly annoyed. He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his bomber jacket. Fine, whatever, just give her the message. The iron rail. 8 o'clock tonight. Mr. Reed is waiting. He signs the papers. His problems go away. She does not. Her problems start. He spat on the pavement, a few inches from Mateo's shoe. Mateo did not flinch. He just watched them. The two men turned and walked to a dark sedan parked 2 rows over. They got in and drove off, their tires squealing slightly on the pavement. My knees felt weak. I was breathing in short, sharp gasps. The adrenaline was leaving, and the shaking was starting. "Mommy," Lily whispered. "Who were those men?" Mateo turned to me. His face was unreadable. "Let me take you home, Miss Carter." My car," I stammered, pointing at my old sedan. "We will take mine. It is faster. I will have someone retrieve your vehicle." I was too stunned to argue. I just nodded. I picked Lily up, holding her tight against my chest, and followed him to a large, black sport utility vehicle parked in the staff lot. It was spotless. When he opened the door for me, the interior smelled of new leather and that faint, sharp citrus I smelled earlier. It was the opposite of my car, which smelled of old coffee and cinnamon buns. He buckled Lily into the back seat himself, checking the straps with a practiced efficiency that surprised me. He was gentle, his large hands careful. "There you go," he said to her. Lily, who was usually so shy, just watched him with wide, curious eyes. I got in the passenger seat. The door closed with a heavy, satisfying thud, sealing out the world. The silence inside the cabin was total. He started the engine and pulled smoothly out of the parking lot. We drove for a full minute before I found my voice. "You knew they would be there," I said. It came out as an accusation, breathy and weak. "I suspected someone might be," he said, his eyes on the road. "Your ex-husband has made some very poor choices. Ava. May I call you Ava?" I just nodded, my throat tight. "This is not about a custody dispute. Not really," he said. "That is just the leverage." "Oh, what are you talking about? He owes money, I know that. He always owes money." "He owes money to the wrong people," the Mateo said, "and he is trying to pay them in a way that creates a problem for me." I turned to look at him. His profile was strong, like something carved from stone. "For you? What does Dylan have to do with you?" He took a left, heading toward my neighborhood. "Your ex-husband. He has a part-time job." "Correct. Something he does when he is not playing music." "Yes," I said. "At the Port Newark. He does data entry for a shipping company. Just a few nights a week. He said it was for extra cash." He is not doing data entry," Mateo said flatly. "He's stealing. He has a gambling debt to a man named Viktor Baranov, a Russian. Baranov's crew has interests at the port. Dylan, in his desperation, offered to pay his debt not with cash, but with information." "Information?" "Shipping manifests, container codes, warehouse schedules, specifically." He paused. "Information about my clients. I run a logistics company. Ava, a very large one. Your ex-husband was selling my client's security to the Bratva." I felt the blood drain from my face. Bratva. The Russian mafia. I was a waitress. I delivered food. This was not my life. Oh my God. "He used your name," Mateo continued, his voice devoid of emotion. "When he was first hired at the port, he listed you as his emergency contact, his family. When Baranov's men squeezed him, they found your name. They found Lily. You became the insurance policy. They sent those men to the school to ensure he delivers what he promised and to make sure you do not get in his way." I stared at the dashboard. the photograph, the note. It is easier to have these discussions in public. It was not Dylan's threat. It was theirs. "Who are you?" I whispered, the question feeling heavy and real. He stopped at a red light. He finally turned and looked at me. His eyes were dark, and for the first time, I saw something in them. A deep, settled weariness. "I am the man who funds your daughter's scholarship," he said. "I am the man who pays for the computer lab and the new soccer field. I am the person who tries to protect the children in that school from the poverty trap they were born into. And Ava," his gaze hardened, "I do not like it when men threaten single mothers in front of their children." The light turned green. He drove on. When we reached my apartment building, my phone vibrated again. I looked at it. A new text from Dylan. "The Iron Rail, 8 p.m. I do not care who you were with. You are not there. I go to court tomorrow. I will tell them you are unstable, that you are paranoid, that you are keeping me from my daughter. The judge will decide. Do not test me, Ava." The old panic was there, but something new was mixing with it, a cold, hard anger. They were punishing my daughter. He was threatening my life. I looked at Mateo, who was watching me read the text. "I have to go," I said. "No," he said. "You do not. You should call the police." "And say what?" I shot back, the anger making me brave. "That my ex-husband is texting me, that two men I cannot identify leaned on my car. They will file a report. They will do nothing. Dylan will use it against me. He will tell the judge I am uncooperative. He will win. I have to go." I took a breath. I looked him right in the eye. "But I am not going like this. You said you have legal counsel. You said that conversation was recorded. I want that. I want to walk in there on my own terms. I want to witness. I want to be able to walk in and walk out safely." Mateo studied my face for a long time. I did not look away. I had been intimidated by PTA moms and bad tippers. I would not be intimidated by this, not when it was about Lily. He gave a single, slow nod. "Very well. I will make the arrangements. I will be back at 7:45. Leave Lily with your neighbor." Mrs. Romano was only too happy to watch Lily, especially when I paid her for the evening. At 7:46, Mateo's black sport utility vehicle slid to the curb. The Iron Rail was a dark, narrow bar that smelled of stale beer and regret. Dylan was in a booth at the very back, nursing a glass of water, and he looked pale and sick. "Mateo will be at the bar," I told him in the car. "I will handle Dylan." "I will be watching," Wawantiin, he said. I walked in alone. I saw Mateo take a seat at the bar, ordering a club soda from the bartender. He did not look at me. I walked to the booth. Dylan jumped when he saw me. "Ava, thank God, you are being smart." I did not sit down. I stood over the table. "What do you want, Dylan?" He fumbled, pushing a stack of papers across the table. "I need you to sign this. It is a temporary agreement for custody. It gives me Lily 2 weeks a month. It helps me with my finances. Proves I am stable." "It cancels your child support," I said. "It is just for a little while, Ava. Please, these people, they do not play. If I give them this, if I show I am sorting my life out, they will. They will cancel my debt." "So you are selling your daughter to pay off a gambling debt?" "It is not like that," he hissed, his eyes darting around. I took my phone from my pocket. I opened the audio recording app my legal aid lawyer had told me to install. I pressed the red button. "I am now recording this conversation, Dylan," I said, my voice clear and loud. "I am not signing anything. I am not agreeing to any changes in custody, and if you, or any of your friends, ever come near my daughter or her school again, I will be at the courthouse tomorrow morning filing a permanent restraining order. I will use this recording, and I will use the text messages. Do you understand me?" His face went white. "Ava, you do not know what you are doing. They will." She seems to know exactly what she is doing. A new voice, thick with a Russian accent. A man slid into the booth next to Dylan. He was older, maybe 50, wearing an immaculate gray suit that looked completely out of place. He had cold, blue eyes. He looked at me, a small, amused smile on his face. "Victor Baranov, you must be the very brave wife." He looked me up and down. "She has guts. Dylan, more than you." Before I could speak, another shadow fell over the table. Matteo. He stood beside me, placing his hand flat on the table, next to my recording phone. He did not look at Dylan. He looked only at Victor. "Victor," Matteo said. His voice was quiet, respectful, and absolutely lethal. "A surprise to see you here." Victor's smile faded. He squinted at Matteo. Recognition dawned. "Lucero, this is your business, this woman." "The mediation is over," Matteo said, ignoring the question. "I believe your business is with Mr. Reed. Miss Carter is leaving. Any future negotiations regarding her, or her child, will now go through legal counsel. Am I clear?" Victor stared at Matteo. The air between them was so thick I could barely breathe. The noise of the bar faded away. Victor finally broke the stare, giving a small nod. "Crystal, Matteo, Crystal." "Ava," Matteo said to me, his back still to Victor, "let us go." I turned and walked. I did not run. I walked out of the bar, Matteo right behind me. The drive home was silent. He pulled up to my curb. I was shaking so hard I could barely unbuckle my seatbelt. "This is not over," he said. "I know," I whispered. I got out of the car. "Thank you." He just nodded and drove away. Later that night, long after I had checked on Lily for the 10th time, I heard a soft scrape at my front door. I froze. I crept to the peephole. The hallway was empty. I waited a full minute, then slowly unlocked the deadbolt. A small, elegant white box sat on my doormat. I brought it inside. My fingers fumbled with the lid. Inside, on a bed of black velvet, was a small silver personal alarm, the kind that shrieks loud enough to wake the dead. Beneath it was a business card, Rivera and Associates, Family and Criminal Law. On the back, in firm, black ink, was a note. "When they back you into a corner, pull up a chair." I clutched the small alarm for the first time in days. I felt a flicker of strength. I was not just a victim. I had a voice. I sat at my small kitchen table, turned on my laptop to check my bakery schedule, and saw the email. It was from Principal Morton. Subject: important update regarding Lily Carter's extracurricular activities. Dear Miss Carter, following the unfortunate disturbance in our parking lot today, and the ongoing instability of your family situation, the school board has met. It is with regret that we must temporarily suspend Lily from the upcoming class field trip. We feel it is in the best interest of all students to ensure a stable, non-disruptive environment. We hope you resolve these private matters quickly. They were punishing my daughter because I was poor, because I was threatened, because I was a single mother. The small spark of strength turned to ice. They had backed me into a corner. I picked up the business card. I would not just pull up a chair. I would flip the whole table. I called the number on the business card at 8 in the morning, right after I dropped Lily at school. My hands were shaking. The email from Principal Morton burning in my mind. Rivera and Associates. A crisp voice answered. My name is Ava Carter. I was given this number by a friend. I need to speak with Miss Rivera. It is about Crestwood Hills Elementary. I met Miss Rivera an hour later. Her office was in a clean, sharp building in Newark, a world away from the PTA moms. She was a small woman with a powerful presence and eyes that did not miss a thing. She listened. Motionless as I laid it all out, the donor day humiliation, the men in the parking lot, the texts from Dylan, the confrontation at the bar, and finally, the email from the principal. When I finished, she tapped a pen on her legal pad. They suspended your 6-year-old daughter from a field trip because her father is a degenerate, and you were harassed in their parking lot. She summarized. They called it family instability, I said, my voice bitter. What they called it, Miss Rivera said, standing up, is textbook discrimination based on familial status and perceived economic standing. They are punishing a child for the actions of an adult she has no control over. They are also retaliating against you for being a victim of a crime on their property. She was already typing. We are not just calling them. We are filing a formal complaint with the school district and the State Board of Education. You are not asking them to reconsider, Ava. You are informing them of their legal violation. She was magnificent. The letter she sent, full of legal citations and sharp, unforgiving language, had an immediate effect. The school district launched an inquiry. Principal Morton, I am sure, panicked. And the hornet's nest was kicked. I was not in the official Parent-Teacher Association group chat. I was, however, soon informed of its contents. Miss Hayes, Lily's teacher, caught me at pickup 2 days later. She looked nervous. Ava, she said, handing me Lily's art project, I want you to be careful. The other mothers, they are talking. What are they talking about, Miss Hayes? They are furious. Brenda McLaughlin saw you leave donor day with that man, the one who said he was Lily's father? Mateo Lucero. Right. Well, the rumor is that he is the angel donor, and that you are sleeping with him, that this whole legal complaint is just you showing off, trying to get money from the school because you have him backing you. Brenda is telling everyone you are ungrateful and litigious. I just stared at her. I was being slut-shamed by the Lululemon flock because a man had been kind to me, because I had refused to let them punish my daughter for it. Thank you for telling me, Miss Hayes, I said, my voice tight. Just watch your back, she said. But the social threat, as sharp and humiliating as it was nothing compared to the other. While the Parent-Teacher Association was gossiping, Dylan was being squeezed. Mateo called me, not on my regular phone, and he'd given me a new one, a simple, cheap burner phone, just in case. Ava, I need to see you, he said. His voice was different. Not calm, it was urgent. He met me outside the bakery at 4:30 in the morning. The sky was still black, the air cold and sharp with the smell of baking bread from our vents. He was leaning against his sport utility vehicle, wearing the same black cashmere coat. He looked like he had not slept. He missed his deadline, Mateo said, skipping any greeting. Dylan? He was supposed to deliver the Universal Cereal bus drive to Victor Baranov 2 nights ago. He did not show. He is terrified. He is hiding. Good, I said. Let him hide. It is not good, Mateo said, his eyes dark. Victor is not a patient man. He does not care about Dylan anymore. He just wants the product. He wants the drive. And he knows Dylan's weakness. Me, I whispered. You and Lily Bow, they are no longer watching him. Ava, they are watching you. They do not know where They know where you work. They know where Lily goes to school. They know where you live. This is not a game. They want soft collateral. They want to make sure Dylan delivers. He paused, his breath fogging in the cold air. I have an apartment. It is in the city. It is clean. It is high up. And it is secure. You and Lily need to go there. Today. My mind reeled. Run, hide. This was my life. My job. My neighbor. My routine. It was all I had. No, I said. The word came out trembling, but I meant it. I am not running. I am not some character in a movie. This is my home. I will not be scared out of my life because of him. I cannot just disappear. I looked at him, desperate. Not unless you have proof, real specific proof that they are here. Mateo looked at me for a long, hard second. I saw a flicker of frustration, but it was replaced by something else. Something like approval. I was hoping you would be reasonable, he said. I am being reasonable. No, he said. I was hoping you would not ask for proof, because I have it. He pulled out his phone. He did not hand it to me. He held it. He swiped. The first picture was time-stamped at 2:45 in the morning. From last night, it was a dark sedan, the same one from the school parking lot. It was parked across the street from my apartment building. My men took this one, he said. He swiped again, a different angle, the same car. This one was parked down the street from the small daycare Lily attended for the 2 hours between school ending and my shift at the bakery finishing. The timestamp was yesterday afternoon. They are mapping your route. Ava, they are watching your entire life. They are not waiting for Dylan to make a move. They are preparing to make their own. They are going to take her. The cold of the morning was nothing to the ice in my veins. I looked at the photograph of the car outside Lily's daycare. All my stubborn pride, all my independence, it just evaporated. There was only the fear. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, we will go." The apartment was on the 25th floor of a glass building overlooking the Hudson River. It was beautiful, sterile, and had a doorman who was built like a refrigerator and never seemed to blink. I felt like a bird in a gilded cage. Mateo arrived that evening. He said it was to check the security. He brought 2 large bags of groceries. "You cannot keep working the delivery job," he said, placing milk in the stainless steel refrigerator. "It is too exposed. The bakery is, maybe, for now." "I have to work," I said, panicked. "The rent, or sent." "The rent here is handled. Your only job right now, Ava, is to learn." "Learn what?" "How to be safe." He turned from the refrigerator and his face was serious. "You are not a prisoner. You are a student. You have to learn the new rules." The lesson started. He taught me to check the reflection in shop windows before turning a corner. He made me memorize a new route to the corner store and back. "Never use the same path twice," he said. He sat with me and installed 2-factor authentication on every app on my phone. Your email, your bank, your social media, everything. He gave me a new list of emergency contacts. My number is number 1. Rivera is 2. Do not call 911 unless I tell you to. It is too slow. This was my new reality. But it was not all cold security. The next evening, he came by again, this time. He had Lily's volcano project. One of his men, had retrieved it from my old apartment. "I thought she might want this, Malgares," he said. Lily, who had been quiet and confused by the move, lit up. "It is the big boom." She set it up on the polished granite countertop. "It did not splode right at school," she complained. Mateo, still in his immaculate suit, loosened his tie. He crouched down. "I see. I think the problem is your ratio. You need more acid to react with the base. Let's try adding more vinegar." He looked at the crater. "And we need to narrow the opening. You need to build pressure, Lily. That is how a real volcano works." I watched as he, this powerful, dangerous man, spent 20 minutes with my daughter, his large hands gently helping her mold more clay, his deep voice explaining acid-base reactions. Later, after Lily was asleep in her new room, I found him staring out the window at the lights of Manhattan. "She likes you," I said quietly. "She is a good kid," he said, not turning. "She deserves better than this." He had a book in his hand, a children's book. She asked me to read this to her. It was Where the Wild Things Are. I did not know what to feel. The man was a contradiction. He was the source of my safety and the proof of my danger. The system, however, was not done with me. The school complaint was still pending, and Principal Morton was squirming. Then came the email announcing the Crestwood Hills annual fundraising gala, a night of giving. My stomach turned. More giving. An hour later, my phone rang, the one Mateo had not given me. It was Principal Morton. His voice was a grotesque imitation of warmth. "Ava, my dear, wonderful news. The board has reviewed your situation, and we are fully reinstating Lily for the field trip." "That is good," I said, suspicious. "Yes, we believe in family unity. Ava, in healing. In fact, The Parent-Teacher Association Board and I had a marvelous idea. We want to show the community that everything is resolved. We are formally inviting Mr. Reed to the gala as your guest. I could not breathe. You are... what? A chance for a united front. A photograph of you both, smiling, supporting the school. It would send such a powerful message of reconciliation. It would put all these nasty rumors to bed. He wanted to use me. He wanted to use my abuser for a photo opportunity. No, I said. Absolutely not. He's not allowed near me or Lily. Ava, Morton's voice hardened. The fake warmth vanished. We are all making compromises. The school is currently reviewing all scholarship compliance. It would be a shame to find your volunteer hours or your family's commitment insufficient for renewal next semester. The threat was unmistakable. Play along or Lily is out. I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking. When Mateo arrived that night, I told him. His face went dark. It was a cold, controlled rage that was more frightening than shouting. He said that, Mateo said, Basai, his voice dangerously quiet. He threatened your daughter's education for a photograph. He stood up and walked to the window. He made a call. His voice was low. I could not hear the words, but the tone was absolute. He hung up and looked at me. I do not buy schools, he said, as if answering a question I had not asked. I buy opportunities for the children inside them. But if the adults in charge start using those children for public relations, I will speak, and they will listen. The final piece fell into place 2 nights later. I was helping Lily with a game on her iPad, the one she used to use at her father's apartment. An iMessage notification popped up. It was from Dylan. He had sent it to the wrong account, not to me, not to his new girlfriend. He had sent it to the old family iCloud account, the one still linked to Lily's iPad. I opened it. This is insane. Victor is making me deliver the stupid USB at the gala, in public. He says it's the only place he knows Lucero won't have his goons everywhere. I just have to get the drive to him. I am going to use Lily to make sure Ava behaves. She will not make a scene if Lily is there. He will have his package, and I will be free. I read it twice. He was not just going to the gala. He was using the gala for a drop. He was using our daughter as a human shield. The old Ava would have hidden. She would have taken Lily and run. The new Ava, the one who had filed legal papers and learned about 2-factor authentication, felt a cold, sharp blade of anger. I showed the text to Mateo. He read it, his face impassive. He's bringing stolen property into a school function, my property. He's bringing my daughter into a mafia handoff, I said, my voice shaking. We cannot go. I will not let her go. No, Mateo said, looking at the text, then at me. You are right, she is not going. But we are. I stared at him. What? He is right about one thing, Mateo said. It is a public place. Victor thinks my hands will be tied. He thinks I will not act. He is wrong. This is the setup. The setup for what? To get your drive back. To get him, Mateo said. To get them all, the school, Victor, Dylan, all at once. I took a deep breath, the plan forming in my mind, cold and clear. No, we act. This is my ex-husband, my daughter, my school. I am not hiding in this apartment while they use my life as a bargaining chip. I looked him straight in the eye. I will be your date. The rumor is already out there. Let's use it. Principal Morton wants a picture. He will get one. The school gala, they wanted to show off family reconciliation. They were about to get a very different kind of show. On the night of the gala, I found a dark blue dress laid out on the bed. It was elegant, simple, and fit perfectly. There was no note. We walked into the ballroom. The air buzzed with whispers. Brenda McLaughlin, holding a glass of champagne, literally dropped it. The glass shattered on the floor. Principal Morton's face was a mask of panic and forced smiles. He rushed over. Mr. Lucero and Miss Carter, how wonderful. A united front. We are here for the children, Mateo said. His hand rested lightly, possessively, on the small of my back. I saw Dylan. He was by the silent auction tables, sweating in a suit that was too tight. He saw me. He saw Mateo's hand on my back. His face went gray with fear. The ceremony began. Speeches, thank you. Then, the MC, a cheerful woman from a local news station, stepped up. And now, a very special presentation. We at Crestwood Hills believe in compassion. And tonight, our anonymous angel donor has established a new scholarship, the Compassion Scholarship, and the first recipient is the family of Lily Carter. A spotlight hit our table. The room erupted in polite, confused applause. This was Morton's move, to force us, to trap us in the PR. Please, the MC beamed. Miss Carter and Mr. Carter, please come up and accept this award. They thought Mateo was my husband. Mateo leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. His breath was warm. This is their stage. Ava, let's use it, if you permit it. Tonight, I am Dad. I looked at him. This complex, dangerous, gentle man. I looked at Dylan, watching us with terror. I looked at Principal Morton, smiling his fake smile. I nodded. My voice was steady. Just for tonight, I whispered back. And we are going to catch those bastards. He smiled, a real, small, dangerous smile. Yes, we are. He stood up, took my hand, and we walked toward the stage. We walked onto the stage, the heat of the spotlight feeling like an accusation. The applause was a confused wave of sound, polite and uncertain. Principal Morton stood at the center, his smile plastered on, radiating a fraudulent warmth. Here they are, he announced, his voice booming. Our Compassion Scholarship recipients, the Carter family, reunited. My blood ran cold. He had not just invited Dylan, he had brought him. And Dylan was not alone. He was standing just off stage, and he was holding Lily's hand. My plan, our plan, it had just exploded. Lily was not supposed to be here. She was supposed to be safe at the apartment. A surprise, Morton beamed at me, as if he had just given me a gift. We wanted the whole family to be here for this special moment. We picked Lily up from your lovely neighbor, Mrs. Romano. She was so thrilled to help. I looked at Mateo. His face was a mask of cold fury. His hands were clenched at his sides, the only sign of the rage I knew he was feeling. He had been outmaneuvered by a high school principal. Come on up, Dylan, Morton cheered, waving him over. Dylan shuffled onto the stage, pulling Lily with him. My daughter looked terrified. Her eyes were wide, searching for me, her small hand lost in his. He was sweating, his gaze darting between me and the dark corners of the ballroom. A photographer stepped forward. Smile, let's get the whole family. We were trapped. Mateo stood on one side of me, Dylan pulling Lily, crowded in on the other. Morton stood behind us, his hands on our shoulders like a proud patriarch. The camera flashed. In that blinding white moment, Dylan leaned in, his breath hot and sour against my ear. Back parking lot. After this, he hissed, his voice a venomous whisper. He squeezed Lily's hand and she let out a tiny whimper. You, me and her, you do not come or you make a sound, and I swear. Ava, she will be crying tonight. The camera flashed again. I smiled right at the camera, my heart a block of ice. Under the cover of the applause, I slipped my phone from my small evening bag. My thumb found the audio recorder app. I pressed record. I held the phone down at my side. I sent a text message. Not to Mateo. He was here. I sent it to the number he had given me, the one for his head of security. It was a single word. Now. Then I sent my live location pin to Miss Rivera. Thank you. Principal Morton, I said into the microphone, my voice surprisingly steady. We are so touched. We just need a moment to take this in, as a family. We walked off the stage. The applause followed us. Ava, you cannot, Dylan started, his eyes wild. We are all going, I said, my voice flat. I looked at Mateo. We need some air. Mateo understood. He put his hand on Lily's other shoulder, a silent claim. We were a bizarre, broken group. Walking toward the exit, Morton watched us, beaming, thinking his public relations stunt had worked. The back parking lot was dark, lit only by a few buzzing orange security lamps. It was cold, and the sound of the party faded behind the heavy fire door. "Okay, Ava, you did it," Dylan said, trying to pull Lily away from me. "Now go, me and him." He nodded at Mateo. "We have business." "No," a new voice said, the accent thick. Victor Baranov stepped out from behind a large catering van. He was not alone. The two men from the school parking lot were with him, the one with the shaved head and the one who picked his teeth. Victor was not smiling. He looked angry. "You were late, Dylan, and you brought guests." He stared at Mateo, his eyes narrowing. "Lucero, you are a popular man tonight." "Give him the drive, Dylan," I said, pushing Lily slightly behind me. Dylan licked his lips. He was shaking. "I have it. It is not on me. It is on the cloud. It is safer there. I just need a computer. I can download it for you. It is all there, I swear. The manifests, the codes." Victor stared at him. The silence was heavy. "A fool," Victor finally said, his voice soft. "I send you for a package, and you bring me a password. You bring me nothing." "No, Victor nodded at his men. One of them, the shaved one, grabbed Dylan by the coat, slamming him against the brick wall. The other man started walking toward me and toward Lily. "No matter," Victor said, his cold eyes on me. "We have the insurance and the mother, and as a bonus, we have Lucero's friend. I think he will pay a very high price for all three of you." The man reached for Lily. "No," I screamed. I put myself in front of my daughter. My mind was racing, pulling at everything, the self-defense class, the legal aid meetings, the lessons from Mateo. "Wait," I shouted, and my voice echoed in the enclosed space. "You cannot do this here." The man paused. Victor looked amused. "No, watch me." This entire parking lot is under video surveillance," I blurted out, pointing at a dark dome on the wall. It was probably fake. But they did not know that. The principal just had new high-definition cameras installed for the gala. He announced it in the Parent-Teacher Association newsletter. They are live streaming to a security office. Victor paused, and he looked at the camera. I pressed on, the words tumbling out. "And I already called the police. Before we came out, I told them a man violating a restraining order. My ex-husband was on school property, armed. I told them he was threatening my daughter. They are on their way. They are probably here right now." It was a bluff, a desperate, wild bluff. And then, as if by magic, it worked. "Hey!" a voice yelled. "What is going on back here? You all are not allowed to be back here." It was not the police. It was a school security guard, a paunchy man in a yellow windbreaker. Rounding the corner with a flashlight, he was probably just on his cigarette break. Victor swore in Russian, "Idiots, all of you! Get them in the van. Now." His men lunged. The shaved man grabbed Dylan. The other one lunged for me and Lily. "That is far enough, Victor." Mateo's voice. It was not loud, but it cut through the night like a blade. He was standing by the loading dock, 20 feet away. He had taken off his tuxedo jacket. He was just in his crisp white shirt, the cuffs rolled up, and his black trousers. He was not alone. 4 other men, all in dark suits, materialized from the shadows around him. They moved with a silent, terrifying efficiency. "Mateo," Victor sneered, in pulling his own coat tight, "always protecting the strays. This is not your business." "This school is my business," Mateo said, walking forward slowly. "This child is my business." He stopped. "And you are committing several felonies on my property, which my associate here is very interested in." A man in a simple, gray suit stepped out from behind Mateo. He looked like an accountant. He was not. "Agent Thorne," the man said, flipping open a wallet to show a badge. Federal Bureau of Investigation, we've been monitoring your port activities for 6 months. Victor, Dylan's cloud copy was a digital trail we have been following all week. Thanks for confirming it. You are under arrest for racketeering, conspiracy, and extortion." Victor's face went white. He knew he was trapped. In that split second of confusion, Dylan saw his only chance. He was not a fighter. He was a rat. He shoved the security guard into the shaved-head man and made a run for it, yanking Lily's arm with him. "She is my daughter! I am taking her!" he screamed, dragging her toward the street. "No!" I shouted. I did not think. I just moved. The woman who was afraid of PDA moms was gone. I ran at him. I remembered the self-defense class Mrs. Romano had forced me to take at the community center. They are bigger. Ava. Do not fight their strength. Use your center, elbow, hip, turn. I did not try to grab Lily. I ran at his side. I pivoted, driving my right elbow as hard as I could into his solar plexus. Dylan made a sound like a punctured tire. All the air left him. His grip on Lily loosened. I used my hip and my forward momentum, just as the instructor had taught me, turning into him. He went down. He sprawled on the pavement, gasping and choking. Lily, he screaming, stumbled. She ran. She did not run to me. She ran straight past me, her arms outstretched, toward the man who was walking toward us. She ran straight to Mateo. Mateo caught her, lifting her in one smooth, powerful motion. He held her against his chest, shielding her face from the scene with his own body. And then, the world exploded in light and sound. Sirens, flashing blue and red lights flooded the parking lot. Agent Thorne's team swarmed in, guns drawn. They cuffed Victor. They cuffed his 2 stunned men. They hauled a wheezing Dylan to his feet and cuffed him, too. Add violation of a restraining order and felony kidnapping to his sheet, Agent Thorne said, gesturing to Dylan. I stood there, shaking, my elbow throbbing. The fire door to the ballroom burst open. Principal Morton, his face white with panic, led the charge. The entire gala, 100 parents in tuxedos and gowns, spilled out into the parking lot, their drinks in their hands, their eyes wide at the scene. Morton saw the police cars. He saw his donors in handcuffs. He saw his reputation in flames. He saw me, standing there, breathing hard. "This is her fault," he shrieked, his voice cracking. He pointed his finger at me. This is the family instability I warned about. A private matter. This single parent, she has brought criminals to our school. She endangered our children." The crowd murmured. Brenda McLaughlin looked horrified, but a small, vindicated smile played on her lips. I saw the MC's lectern, the one from the stage, pushed against the wall by the door. The microphone was still on it. I walked over. My heels clicked on the pavement. I picked up the microphone. My hand was perfectly steady. "My name is Ava Carter," I said. My voice, amplified, boomed across the parking lot. Everyone froze. The police, the parents, Morton. "My family instability," I said, my voice clear and cold, "is that my ex-husband is a criminal who has not paid child support in 8 months. My instability is that these men," I pointed to Victor, "threatened to kidnap my daughter. And my instability is that when I came to this school, to this man," I pointed at Principal Morton, "for help, he threatened to expel my 6-year-old daughter unless I agreed to a photo opportunity with my abuser." The silence was absolute. Brenda McLaughlin's smile was gone. "I work 40 hours a week at the Flower Box Bakery. I work 30 hours a week delivering your food. I do it to pay for this school. I do it so my daughter can have a safe place to learn." My voice broke. Just for a second, no child should ever be suspended from a field trip because her mother is poor. And no child should ever be ashamed of her mother's wallet. I set the microphone down. Mateo was standing beside me. He had put Lily down, and she was clutching my free hand, her face buried in my dress. He leaned in, his voice just for me, a rough whisper over the crackle of police radios. "You just did something I can never do," he said. I looked at him, my vision blurring with tears. "You beat them with the light." I just nodded. I squeezed Lily's hand. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and wet with tears. Then she looked up at the tall, powerful man standing beside us. "Mommy," she whispered. "Yes, baby," I choked out. She looked at Mateo. "Daddy, today." Mateo's face, so hard and controlled, just broke. He crouched down in front of her, in his rumpled white shirt, ignoring the flashing lights, the staring crowd, the men in handcuffs. He reached out and gently, so gently, tucked her hair behind her ear. "Daddy," he said, his voice thick, "today. The aftermath of a bomb is not an explosion. It is the silence that comes after, the dust settling in the air, the slow assessment of what is still standing." My speech in the parking lot was the bomb. The days that followed were the silence. The legal fallout was swift and merciless. Miss Rivera, my legal aid angel, descended upon the case with the fury of a warrior. Dylan, faced with felony kidnapping charges, a federal witness tampering charge from Agent Thorne, and a mountain of evidence from my phone, did not stand a chance. He took the plea bargain. "It is a good one, Ava." Miss Rivera told me over the phone. We were back in my old apartment. Mrs. Romano had practically fumigated the place, warding off, as she said, the bad spirits Dylan left behind. "He pleads guilty to coercion and violating the restraining order," she explained, her voice crisp. "The kidnapping charge is held in abeyance, conditional on his behavior. He gets 5 years probation, which he is allowed to serve in another state. He has family in Arizona. He's required to leave New Jersey within 30 days. "And Lily," I whispered, and looking at my daughter, who was happily drawing a volcano, this time with bright pink lava, "a long-term permanent restraining order. He's prohibited from contacting you or Lily, directly or indirectly, for 10 years. No phone calls, no emails, no friends at the school." She paused. "And the child support. He has some remaining assets from a family inheritance he never told you about, which my office managed to uncover. It is not much, but it is something. His support obligation is being paid in a lump sum, directly into a court-mandated trust for Lily's education. He can never touch it, and he can never use it as leverage against you again." He was gone, not just gone from the bar, but gone from our lives, wiped clean, a problem, finally solved by paperwork. Victor Baranov and his crew were indicted on federal racketeering charges. Agent Thorne's office was handling that. I heard from Miss Rivera that the school's security guard, the one who had so conveniently been on break, was suspended. The one who had showed up, the paunchy one with the flashlight, had given a full statement and was being called a hero in the local paper, which I found grimly hilarious. The school board, in a panic, launched a full internal investigation into Principal Morton's management practices. That led to the next change. An email arrived, this time to the entire school community, not just me. "Dear Crestwood Hills families." The subject line read, "An important update on community and giving." The school board had held an emergency session. In light of the distressing events at the gala, all fundraising activities were being re-evaluated. Principal Morton was on a sudden and indefinite leave of absence. The email went on. "We are thrilled to announce that our traditional donor day will be replaced. This spring, we will host our first annual Community Day. This will be a celebration of our students and the diverse talents of our families. All parents are invited to share their skills, their time, and their passions. There will be no ranking of contributions. There will be no financial disclosure. We are one community." I read the email 3 times. I had won. My speech, my shame. It had actually changed something. The Parent-Teacher Association was next. A public, groveling apology was posted on the school website, signed by the entire board. It spoke of recommitting to core values and learning from our mistakes. Then the private messages started, little pings on my phone. One was from Brenda McLaughlin. "Ava, I am appalled at what you went through. What Morton did was unconscionable. We had no idea. I hope you will accept my deepest apologies. It was half an apology, half a desperate attempt to distance herself from the disaster. Another, from one of the other moms, was more direct. I am so ashamed. I'm also a working mother. I got caught up in it. What you said was right. I am sorry. Brenda even called me. Ava, we, the Parent-Teacher Association. We want to do better. We were thinking of starting a new committee, a support group for parents who work non-traditional hours, shift workers, so they can still be involved. We were wondering if you would be willing to help lead it. I thought about it. I could have told her to get lost, but I looked at Lily, humming as she drew. Yes, I said, I will, but we do it my way. The meetings are at 7 at night, not 10 in the morning, and the first order of business is secured, free childcare during the meetings. Of course, she said, sounding relieved. Of course. Through all of this, Mateo was silent. We had left the safe apartment the day after the gala. He had driven us, the ride quiet. He had walked us to my apartment door, where Mrs. Romano was waiting. He had crouched down. Goodbye, Lily, he had said. Bye-bye, Daddy, today, she had replied and hugged him. He had held her for a long moment. He stood up, looked at me, gave a single nod, and left. He did not call. He did not text. The silence was strange. It left a hole. I felt safe, legally, but I missed him. 3 days later, an email arrived. It was from an address I did not recognize. Ava, I am glad to see the system is working as it should. You and Lily are safe. Dylan is gone. I am going to keep my distance for a while. It is important. I do not want your daughter to confuse a rescuer with an owner. She needs to see her mother as the one who saved her, because you did this, not me, remember that? If you are ever in danger, my number still works, but you are not in danger anymore. M. I read the email until the words blurred, a rescuer versus an owner. He understood. He saw the power dynamic. He saw that for me to truly be free. I had to be free of him, too. He was giving me back my agency, the same way I had taken it back from Dylan. It was the most respectful and most painful act of kindness he could have shown. I knew he was right. I was not a damsel. I was a baker. I was a driver. I was a mother. I was the one who had made the plan. I was the one who had spoken into the microphone. I looked at my laptop. I looked at the bills piling up. The bakery job was stable. The delivery job. I did not want to do it anymore. I did not want to be out in the dark, vulnerable. I thought about the legal aid forms, the trust fund, the school budgets. I opened my web browser and searched for online accounting courses. I found a certification program at the local community college. It was fully online. It cost $2,000. It might as well have been $2 million. I stared at the Apply for Financial Aid button. 2 days later, I received another email. This one was from the Newark Community Reinvestment Fund. Dear Miss Carter, we've been informed by a partner organization that you are a single mother in the Crestwood Hills district seeking professional advancement. We are pleased to offer you a full, anonymous scholarship for one certification course of your choice. Please send us the link to your chosen program, and we will handle the tuition. It was anonymous. It was through a community fund. It was not a check from Mateo Lucero. I looked at his email again. I don't want your daughter to confuse a rescuer with an owner. This was his way, a way I could accept. I enrolled in Accounting Fundamentals 101 that afternoon. Life settled. It found a new rhythm. I worked my 4 a.m. shift. I picked up Lily. I did homework with her. Then, while she played or slept, I studied. I learned about debits and credits, about ledgers and balance sheets. Lily returned to her class. The field trip was rescheduled. She went to the Liberty Science Center and came back vibrating with excitement about a touch tank. I had my first parent-teacher meeting since the incident. Miss Hayes, the teacher, met me at the door. She did not look nervous this time. She was smiling. "Ava," she said, giving me a quick, impulsive hug. "Come in. I want to show you Lily's reading scores." We sat at the tiny table. I was not wearing my work jeans. I was wearing clean slacks and a nice blouse. I was not ashamed of the smell of yeast that still clung to my hair. I did not apologize for my work schedule. "She is thriving," Miss Hayes said, showing me a chart. "She's so much more confident, she's participating," and she told the entire class that her mother was a legal hero. I laughed, the sound rusty. "I'm just a baker, Miss Hayes." "You are more than that," she said, her eyes kind. "We are all so proud of her. And you." I walked out of that school with my head held high. No whispers, no judgment, just the polite nod of the other parents. A week later, I was at the bakery. It was 5 a.m, the sky still a deep, dark blue. The front bell chimed. It was never supposed to chime this early. We did not open for another hour. I looked up from the tray of cinnamon rolls I was glazing. Matteo Lucero was standing there. He was not in a suit. He was wearing dark jeans, work boots, and a simple black thermal shirt under a heavy jacket. He looked younger. He looked normal. "We are not open," I said, my heart doing a stupid, fast rhythm against my ribs. "I know," he said, his voice quiet in the warm, yeasty air. "I was hoping you would make an exception. I have a crew, building a new playground. For the county. They are volunteers. They look hungry." I looked at him. He looked at me. "A whole crew," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. "A big crew," he confirmed, a tiny smile playing on his lips. "Then you are going to need more than that," I said, gesturing to the half-empty pastry case. "I have a whole rack of cinnamon rolls in the back, still warm." "I will take them all," he said. I packed up 3 large boxes. He paid with a credit card, an American Express. He did not ask for a discount. "How is, school?" he asked, his voice casual. "Good," I said, handing him the boxes. "Accounting is harder than it looks, debits and credits." "I have heard," he said. "How is the big boom?" "She is building a new one," I smiled. "She says the next one will have lights." "Ambitious," he said. He took the boxes. Our fingers brushed. It was just a second, but it felt electric. "Well," he said, clearing his throat, "I should get these to the crew." "Right, have a good build, Mr. Lucero." "Matteo," he said. "Matteo," I corrected myself. He nodded once. "Ava." He turned and walked out the door. I watched him go, and he was not a rescuer, and he was not an owner, and he was not a mafia boss or a donor, and he was just a man who bought cinnamon rolls for his construction crew, a man who knew how to let people save themselves. And I was just a woman, standing in her own light, finally breathing her own air. The gymnasium smelled different. The air was not heavy with burnt coffee and industrial floor wax. Today, it smelled of chili simmering in crock-pots, of spicy samosas from the Indian families, and the faint vinegary trace of several baking soda volcanoes. The Severe Donor Day banner was gone. In its place, a long, colorful paper sign, made by the children, stretched across the stage. It read Crestwood Hills Community Day. I saw Brenda McLaughlin. She was not standing near a podium or organizing donations. She was wearing a flour-dusted apron and running the bake sale table, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked stressed, but in a normal, human way. She saw me, smiled and waved. I waved back. At the front of the room, Lily was standing next to her project. Her new volcano was a masterpiece. It was twice as large as the first one, painted a vibrant purple, and, just as she had promised, she had figured out how to wire a tiny red light emitting diode into the crater, making it glow. She was not shy. She stood tall, her hands clasped behind her back, the new acting principal, a kind, older woman named Mrs. Gable, leaned down with a microphone. "And what does your project demonstrate for us, Lily?" Lily did not mumble. She looked at the small crowd of parents. "It shows an acid-base reaction," she said, her voice clear. but it also shows that when there is a lot of pressure inside, things have to change. Sometimes, things need to explode to get better. A ripple of knowing laughter and applause went through the room. I clapped until my hands stung, my chest tight with a pride so fierce it almost hurt. I scanned the faces. In the very back of the room, leaning against the gymnasium wall by the exit, was Mateo. He was not in a suit. He was wearing dark jeans and a simple black shirt, his arms crossed. He was not looking at Lily. He was watching me. When my eyes met his, he smiled. It was not a big smile, just a small, private acknowledgement. When Lily finished her speech and the parents clapped, he clapped too, his large hands making a solid, quiet sound against the wall of noise. He did not come forward. He did not step into the light. He did not try to take any credit. I used to think father was a word on a piece of paper, a name on a birth certificate, a biological claim. I realized, watching him stand in the shadows, that I had been wrong. Sometimes, a father is just the man who knows exactly where to stand, the one who knows when to step forward, and, just as importantly, the one who knows when to stand back. The last pieces of the old life fell away the following week. The court hearing was a formality. I did not even have to speak. Miss Rivera handled everything. The judge, a stern-looking woman, read the terms. I was granted full, sole, and legal custody of Lily Carter. Dylan, as part of his plea agreement, had already moved to Arizona to serve his 5 years of probation. He was a ghost. He was a bad memory. The judge's gavel was just the sound of the final door closing. The school, in its desperate, hurried attempt to rebuild its reputation, moved forward. Principal Morton was officially fired. Mrs. Gable was made permanent, and they announced the creation of a new fund. Mrs. Gable called me into her new office. It is called the Lily's Light Foundation, she said, her hands folded on her desk. My breath caught. It is a new scholarship, Ava, she continued, funded by a completely anonymous benefactor. It is specifically for children of single parents, or parents who work non-traditional hours. It will cover tuition gaps, after-school care, laptops, art supplies, whatever they need to bridge the gap. That is, I whispered, that is wonderful. It is, but it needs a manager, someone to handle the books, process the applications, and coordinate with the families, someone who understands. It is a part-time position, 20 hours a week. It can be done mostly from home. She smiled, gesturing to my laptop bag. Miss Rivera mentioned you were just finishing your certification in accounting. I saw the path. It was not a rescue. It was a door I had built myself. I am certified as of this Friday, I said, my voice steady. Then the job is yours, Ava, if you want it. I walked out of that office as Ava Carter, the fund accountant for the Lily's Light Foundation. I had a salary. I had flexible hours. I had a new career. I quit the delivery job that afternoon. I would still work the morning shift at the bakery, for now. I liked the smell of the bread. The next month, the first true warmth of spring arrived. The snow melted, and the world smelled like damp earth. My accounting classes were finished. I was balancing the new fund's books from my own kitchen table. An invitation came. It was not a text. It was a paper flyer, the kind they hand out at schools, covered in crayon drawings of hammers and swings. Community playground build. Can we go, Mommy? Lily asked. It says they are building the big slide. When we got to the park on Saturday morning, it was chaos. 100 people were scattered across a muddy field, and in the middle of it all, I saw him. Mateo was not standing on the sidelines. He was in the thick of it, covered in sawdust, a tool belt low on his hips. He was arguing with another man, both of them holding a long 2x4. The load-bearing joint is here, Mateo was saying, pointing to a diagram. If you put the support brace there, the torque will be off when the children swing. I have been a contractor for 20 years, the other man grumbled. And I have been in logistics for 25. Mateo shot back, his voice easy but firm. "It is the same principle. Trust me." He saw us. The hard edge in his voice vanished. He wiped his sweaty forehead on his arm, leaving a streak of dirt, and walked over. He was smiling. "You came." "Lily wanted to supervise the slide installation," I said, trying to sound casual. "Mommy, he is all dirty," Lily giggled. Mateo crouched down, bringing himself to her level. "I am very dirty, Lily," he said, his voice rumbling with amusement. "Today, I am not the boss. I am not Dad." He pointed to a giant pile of sand. "Today, I am just the man who shovels the sand." "I can shovel sand," Lily declared, running toward the pile. For the next 3 hours, we worked. I helped a woman bolt together a picnic table. Lily supervised the sand pile, which mostly meant getting it in her shoes, and Mateo worked. He hauled lumber, he dug post holes, he laughed with the other fathers, he got a blister on his hand. He was not a savior. He was not a donor. He was just a man in muddy boots, building a playground. Later, we sat on a bench, drinking lukewarm lemonade from a large plastic cooler. Our shoes were caked in mud. His expensive leather boots were probably ruined. I was sweating through my shirt, but I had never felt better. Mrs. Romano was there, too, sitting on a bench in the shade, watching the children. I sat down next to her. "That man of yours," she said, nodding toward Mateo, who was now helping to hoist the large yellow slide into place. "He is not my man, Mrs. Romano," I said, my cheeks heating up. "Bah, you say that, but he is a good one, a quiet one." She looked at me, her sharp eyes kind. "He reminds me of something, a puzzle I never solved." "What is that?" "It was months ago, Kara, right after you moved in. Before all this mess and before the school, I was worried about you. You were working 2, 3 jobs. You were so thin. And I knew the rent was due. I knew you were short." I stiffened. I remembered that month. I had been terrified. I had been about $50 short. "I was going to offer you a loan from my pension," she said. "I did not want you to worry. And then, an envelope, it appeared under my door, not yours, mine, so I would find it first." "An envelope," I whispered. "Cash, $500, enough for your rent and some groceries, besides," and a little note, just 3 words, in strong, black ink. My heart was pounding. What did the note say? "Mrs. Romano." She looked me right in the eye. It said, "For Lily's Light." I stopped breathing. Lily's Light, the name of the foundation. The name he had funded. I thought back, the note that came with the alarm. When they vacuum you into a corner, pull up a chair, the handwriting, it was the same. He had been helping me, not for days, not for weeks, for months, before he ever spoke to me, before he ever stepped out of the shadows. I stood up. I walked over to him. He was packing up tools, his back to me. "Mateo," I said, He turned. He had a smudge of dirt on his jaw. "Ava, all finished. Lily loves the slide." "For Lily's Light," I said. He did not pretend. He did not lie. He did not look away. He just watched me, waiting. "You paid my rent," I said. It was not a question. "Months ago, before you even knew me, before donor day. Why?" He looked away from me then, out across the park. He watched Lily, who was now at the very top of the slide, her arms raised in triumph. "The first time I visited Crestwood," he said, his voice very low. "It was not for a gala. It was just a tour. The principal was showing me the donor opportunities, the computer lab, the new sports equipment." He paused, his hands tightening on the wrench he was holding. We walked past the first-grade classrooms. They had letters taped to the wall. What I want for my family. The other children had written things like a new car or a vacation to Disney. Typical kid things. He turned back to me. His eyes were dark and full of a sadness that made my chest ache. "Lily's letter," he said, "was pinned at the bottom. It did not ask for a toy. It just said, I want Mommy to be home early tomorrow. I put my hand over my mouth, a sob catching in my throat. I just did my part, Ava, he said, his voice rough. I asked who her mother was. I found out where she lived. I made a few calls. I wanted her mother to be home early. He had been my angel all along, not a rescuer, just a man who had seen a little girl's wish. I looked at him. This good, complicated, wonderful man, covered in dirt and sawdust. He was not an owner. He was not a boss. He was just Mateo. I took a deep breath. It was my turn. My turn to be the strong one. I am making dinner tonight, I said. He looked surprised. Oh, spaghetti, the kind from a box. It is not very good. A small, genuine smile touched his lips. I'm sure it is fine. I am not inviting you to thank you, I said, my voice steady. I am not inviting you to pay you back for anything. I am inviting you because I would like to have dinner with you as equals. He studied my face. He saw the strength. He saw the independence. He saw me, Ava, standing on my own 2 feet. He nodded very slowly. I would like that very much, Ava. Lily ran up, her face bright with exertion, and grabbed both our hands. Are we going home now? Is Mateo coming home with us? He looked down at her, then at me, and his eyes were full of a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. Yes, he said, but if you ask, tonight I am just Mateo. The afternoon light was golden, filtering through the beams of the new playground, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I heard my daughter laugh, a real, full belly laugh that echoed in the open air, and it was the only sound in the world that mattered. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I would love to know where you are tuning in from tonight. Please share your thoughts and where you are listening from in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel, Mafia Boss Stories, like this video, and hit that hype button so this story can be heard by many more.